watching the Bulldog Brewhouse Podcast.
Hey everybody, it's Steve Grover. We're back for another episode of the Bulldog Brewhouse Podcast. It's just the day before Halloween, so happy Halloween everybody out there. Hopefully you'll have a lot of candy for the trick-or-treaters coming by tomorrow night. Make sure you drive safe and look out for those little goblins and ghosts because they'll be out on the streets tomorrow night across North America and probably in Western Europe. I've got a very special guest tonight. His name is Pius Joseph. Is that correct, Pius?
That's right, Steve.
Okay.
Happy Halloween to everyone.
Okay, well, happy Halloween to everyone in beautiful California. And I believe you're in Pasadena. Is that correct?
I am in the great city of Pasadena where you have the Rose Parade.
Exactly. Well, I was thinking about this podcast last night before I went to bed, and I was going to mention about Pasadena. There's two things I know about Pasadena is the Rose Bowl's there, correct?
Rose Parade happens in the morning and Rose Bowl in the afternoon.
Okay, and then there's that old Beach Boys song, Little Old Lady from Pasadena. So I trust, you've seen her walking around Pasadena?
Yes, and we are right across the playhouse.
Okay, all right. So you're located in Pasadena, and I know you from a lot of seminars that I've gone to in the U.S. You're a well-respected attorney down in Pasadena, California. So tell me, I know who you are, but tell my viewers a little bit about Pius. Where are you from? Where did you grow up? And why did you become an attorney?
Well, when I was young, grew up in New York.
Yeah.
And I moved to Los Angeles a little after the Olympics.
Okay, 1984 or 1980?
84.
Yeah,
Olympics.
Okay. Yeah.
And I've been since up in the Los Angeles area. And I just have been practicing law since technically I was admitted in December of 87 since 1988.
Okay, so that's a long time. And obviously, what attracted you to law? Of all I know I can tell the story of my family. There's only two professions. You become a doctor or a lawyer, and I always tell everyone I took the easy way out, okay? But why did you become an attorney? What was the attraction of law to you?
Well, I started with medicine, and one of my siblings became an orthopedic surgeon, and the other one, my two other brothers, me and my other brother, we started with the pre-medical, and I did some medicine, and I switched to law. One of the motivations is law is very interesting, and of course, the preferred profession is probably being a doctor, but I chose to be a lawyer.
Well, I don't know about that because my youngest sister, she's a doctor, and every job has its stresses, has its complications. Sometimes patients are demanding. We have to deal with the court system. Clients can be demanding or tough to deal with. But I think it comes with every profession. But you went to law school, other than your other siblings, and what attracted you? Because obviously you're a civil litigator and you do a lot of personal injury cases.
Yes. In fact, I had a very interesting start. I did some defense work for 3 months and I got tired of that.
Okay.
Then I joined a plaintiff's personal injury law firm, and they were doing exclusively motorcycle accidents. And I was a motorcycle accident litigator.
Okay.
And I was lucky enough to start my case with a trial in my first year of practice in San Diego. I didn't know what the heck I was doing, but I did something at trial. One of the jurors thought it was very creative because the case had the allegation my client was riding a motorcycle in the center of the road.
Okay.
And I had a lawyer on the jury, and the jurors were going to defend my client, although the other person was making a left turn. but there was a lawyer in the jury, and there was no jury instruction that ever said that my client could not travel in the center of the road because motorcycles, because of oil slick, they have to ride around the center.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that juror, the jury was focused on the liability, and I won the case.
Okay.
But and second claim was my client was riding a helmet, so he was not able to see the other driver.
Mm-hmm.
And I picked up a helmet and put on my head,
Mm-hmm.
and I looked at the jury.
Mm-hmm.
I can see very well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in trials, how creative you get, and that was the first creativity, although it was no big deal.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I started liking trials. You pick the jury. I had jurors that hated my case because of motorcycle.
Yeah.
One of the jurors started shivering. She said, well, my son got catastrophic injuries. I just don't want to sit in a jury in a motorcycle case. So you get to get a reaction if you're a bicycle or motorcycle case. There's a lot of bias that comes because there are bicyclists that ride
Mm-hmm.
carelessly.
Yeah.
So there is a jury impression or perception
Mm-hmm.
that motorcycles and bicycles are dangerous.
Yeah. Okay. So like so is this case going back to the 90s that you ran down in San Diego?
88.
88. So that was the year of the Winter Olympics in Calgary, where my main office is. I don't know if you knew that.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I remember.
Okay.
I was tracking the Olympics.
Okay. And yeah, I went to a lot of hockey games, and it was kind of interesting. I mean, after that, I never went to Olympics again, so obviously I didn't have a lasting impression. But dealing, like, obviously I'm in Canada, and our practice is focused in Canada, and obviously in California, if you do a lot of civil litigation, especially personal injury like we do in Canada, you're going to be doing a lot of jury trials. Is that correct?
Almost every case I try are jury trials in personal injury.
Yeah.
The only time you have a judge is if you have an arbitration or trials.
Yeah. Okay. And how do you enjoy? Because I know it's in the Constitution, in the U.S. Constitution, you have right to jury, and I believe it's 12 jurors you can have in the box. And how do you find jury trials down in California? I mean, do you have to pick the venue to be careful where you file your suit?
Well, I am used to saying that it is more based on jurisdiction.
Yeah.
What kind of jurors you get, because there are conservative jurisdictions, there are jurisdictions not so conservative.
Uh-huh.
I don't subscribe to whether conservative or not conservative. I just look at, are these people going to be fair?
Mm-hmm.
And there are some stumbling blocks sometimes.
Yeah.
And one of the worst things is in trials, we have a jury instruction. For example, there's a question, is the defendant negligent? Let's say the answer is yes.
Yeah.
In layman's perspective, you think you won the case.
Mm-hmm.
But the next issue you have to deal with is there was a jury question. Was the defendant's negligence a substantial factor in causing injuries to plaintiff?
Yeah.
And that is a very dangerous instruction in California.
Oh, yeah.
Because jurors go with that word substantial, but it doesn't have to be substantial. It needs to be one of the factors.
Yeah.
And our standard is preponderance of evidence.
Yeah.
So the jury sometimes forgets that, well, by a preponderance, is it more likely true than not?
Yeah.
This happened because of this incident. And if they stumble on that stumbling block, and if they say no, you're out of luck in the whole case.
Yeah. So it's very interesting because there's two standards. Like if you're in criminal law, it's beyond a reasonable doubt. 99.9% you're going to be at fault. you're going to be, criminally liable for the acts. They act like, give you example, O.J. Simpson case. When I was in law school, that was a big case on CNN every day we were watching. And then the civil standard is beyond a reasonable doubt. Preponderance of the evidence, which is 51%. And do jurors struggle with that standard down there?
I believe so, because there are some of them that have been in criminal cases, some of the jurors.
Yeah.
The way I approach with jurors is like, in criminal cases, you have to do without moral compunction. That means you should be able to go to sleep at night once you make that decision.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in civil case, it is a very small burden in shifting the balance, and I just show a balance of justice with the feather on it, with the feather.
Yeah.
But it all depends on the jurors if they're going to go with that or not.
Mm-hmm.
And I think jury selection is so important in that. Mm-hmm. I just tried a case about a week ago, roughly 10 days ago, and my judge would give 30 minutes for voir dire for the jury selection. And I told the judge, I just need probably a half a day or more.
Yeah.
Maybe a day.
Yeah.
But he was in a courtroom in the federal court in Los Angeles, where the Superior Court shares space with the federal court. And he ran the show like in the federal court. You had to stand by the podium.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a stickler to time. He was a good judge, but he was a stickler to time. He will start sharp at 8:30, go to 4:30. And that's all good because the case goes fast enough. But the jury selection part, I was really concerned about, because in 30 minutes, you interview, let's say, 20 people.
Yeah.
You have a minute and a half per person or something like that.
Yeah.
And we negotiated, he gave me 45 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
but even that is so grossly inadequate to make a decision if this juror is going to be the right juror.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a bicycle accident case. Again, one of the biggest biases was against bicycles.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how it's in Canada, but in California,
Mm-hmm.
you have bicycle lanes and you have bicycles blowing through stop signs, and there is a public perception that they just don't like bicycles.
Yeah.
Far and few in between, you get a few bicycle people in the jury.
Okay. So getting back to the obviously, do you only practice in California, or are you licensed in other jurisdictions in the union?
Well, I used to practice in Arizona too, but I don't anymore.
Okay.
I'm exclusive in California, but I have a case in Oregon, but you can practice pro hack. If you do one or two cases, you can get a special permission.
Yeah.
And I have a commercial truck accident case, so
Mm-hmm.
I have that going on in Oregon. But besides that, I stick to mostly California. I used to do some in Texas when I was like a new lawyer working for a law firm.
Mm-hmm.
I used to fly to all these different places.
Yeah.
But now it's more California.
Okay. Well, obviously, California is a big state. It's probably one of the biggest GDPs in the world, compared to other countries. And what's the population in California? About 50 million or 40 million?
Something like that.
Okay. Well, that's probably as many people are in Canada. I don't know if you know, but Canada's got about 45 million people. So you have the whole population in Canada in one state, and I think, if you can't be busy there, then there's a problem. Wouldn't you agree with that?
I do agree, and also you have probably a lot of lawyers in California too.
Yeah, but the question is there a lot of good lawyers? This is very interesting. Like my dad, he was a surgeon. I think we talked about that in some conferences. And, there's a lot of good doctors, and there's a lot of doctors that don't, they don't care. There's some attorneys that are really good, and there's some, that don't go to seminars. And so, I mean, the question is, you know, there's a lot of clothing companies out there, but is there a clothing company that you're happy with that you buy? It's, you know, it's sort of like capitalism. It's free enterprise. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You don't know. You don't know if we have a canali or something that you get off the streets at the government district.
Yeah.
So it's more like that. But there are lawyers. There are some lawyers. I know law has to be a business,
Yeah.
but it can't just exclusively a business type of thinking. It has to be to some extent, but also there is a human element.
Yeah.
I think when you represent clients, the most important thing is what you're doing. Is that going to make a change in the lives of people?
Yeah.
And some people consider this as a statistic.
Yeah.
For example, you have the billboard lawyers and people that advertise a lot.
Yeah.
You get high volume cases.
Yeah.
You just churn and burn the cases,
Yeah.
and they probably make a good income,
Yeah.
and so they can afford all those billboards and things like that. But then you have to look at what are you doing in those cases. You have a client coming to you, and I had a case, and I had to tell you, it was so shameful that someone took this client, a 25-year-old client, have him go through an epidural injection,
Yeah.
and just for getting more money.
Yeah.
And I seriously, if I have a young client, and if they want invasive procedures, I do tell them that unless it is a medical necessity, just don't do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So there are a lot of my cases are more serious type of cases. I have some brain injury cases, and in those serious injury cases, spinal injury cases, I don't know, sometimes surgery is needed.
Yeah.
If less invasive procedures cannot heal that person, and if they are at their wit's end, if that's what they need, that's a different thing.
Yeah.
So it's a philosophy. Law is something that you have to approach with the right philosophy.
Yeah. I mean, I always preach, like I've gone to, like I went to law school in Texas and I came back to Canada and I'm practicing in Canada since like the late 90s. And I mean, it's something that I always talk with my office, my other lawyers, is like, you know, almost like trial by human. You have to humanize the file. Wouldn't you agree with that? Like, you know, you got a person that's in a motorcycle accident, maybe they've lost their leg, but, you know, I know the insurance companies are big multinational corporations, but, you know, Joe, you have to make that case specific because Joe's life is life altering, and how did this affect his ability to function? And maybe he's back to doing some activities, but not in the same degree as he was before. Would you agree with that idea?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I 100% agree with that, because can you make a change in their lives is more important, and you have to look on an individual case-by-case basis, each person.
Yeah.
I have clients that have catastrophic injuries like TBI, people with brain injury.
Yeah, traumatic brain injuries. Yeah.
Traumatic brain injury. And one of the things the other side always tries to do is they try to minimize it. The general defense is it's no big deal.
Yeah.
All brain injuries heal within 6 months.
Yeah, I've seen those neuropsych reports. I mean, generally 85 to 90% recover within 6 months, but what about those 10 or 20% that don't?
Well, I have a case, and this is kind of ongoing. I have a case, the client had TBI in a truck crash about 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Then he had a fall and aggravated his TBI, and he needs actually help to manage his life.
Yeah.
And among all experts, what they want him to do is to come to the United States from Thailand and do a neuropsych test. And he's an American citizen, but he moved to Thailand because he can get inexpensive help, medical help,
Mm-hmm.
and also help of people to deal with his daily life, assistance in daily life, or
Mm-hmm.
caretaking.
Yeah.
And their objective is to have this neuropsych, who is not a medical doctor, he's a PhD,
Oh yeah.
and he is going to probably make, I can even anticipate him going to say that my client is either faking or exaggerating, because
Mm-hmm.
that's the defense they do, and that's what they try to do at trials. They give a bunch of tests.
Mm-hmm.
Those tests are like tests they use by psychologists,
Mm-hmm.
and those tests, they call it symptom validity tests.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you understand the cognitive abilities of a human being by a bunch of paper tests or visual tests that they don't follow the actual guidelines?
Mm-hmm.
And they have a client clobbered in one place.
Mm-hmm.
In neuropsych tests, lawyers are not allowed to be there, observers are not allowed to be there,
Yeah.
except maybe a limited portion of the history. And in the interactions between the neuropsych and our client, and obviously the neuropsych is going to say things
Yeah.
to diminish the value of my client's case. And it is allowed because these guys are paid to do that for 8 hours of brutality
Mm-hmm.
to, to someone with a brain injury.
Yeah. So in California, do your rules permit you to videotape defense medical examinations or no?
Not yet, because the code doesn't allow that. The
Okay.
Code of Civil Procedure doesn't allow that. But now we have a case called Randy's Trucking.
Mm-hmm.
Under that case, you can get directly the raw data.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier, they will not ever give the raw data to the lawyers.
Yeah.
Now they have to give the raw data directly to the lawyer. But again, they will challenge that, I know.
Yeah.
I did request a videotaping in one of the neuropsych exams
Yeah.
coming for one of my clients,
Mm-hmm.
but I always ask for a stipulation. I don't let them do a neuropsych exam without a written stipulation laying out the condition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's very interesting. In 2010, they changed the rules of court in Alberta. So I don't know if you know, well, we have three levels of court in Alberta. We've got the provincial court, which is the Alberta Court of Justice, which is claims up to $100,000. Okay, those are pretty much like layman's court, like people's court. Remember Judge Wapner growing up? Okay,
Yes.
okay. They don't like lawyers in there. Okay. Then we have Court of King's Bench. King Charles III is actually our head of state. I don't know if you know that. Did you know that King Charles III is the head of state of Canada, not the Prime Minister?
Well, I heard about that because when
Yeah.
you drive to Canada, you drive on Queen's Expressway down
Yeah, yeah. But now,
in
unfortunately, Queen
Ontario.
Elizabeth passed on, so now her son, King Charles III, is now the head of state. And then on top of that, we have the Court of Appeal. And then from there, we have the Supreme Court of Canada in Ottawa, okay? So our practice is pretty much focused in the Court of King's Bench. And the Alberta Rules of Court changed it where we can videotape defense medical examinations, which is good. But whenever it comes up to a neuropsych testing, they only allow the videographer to be in the interview section and not in the actual testing section, okay? Has that ever come up in a court case in California about able to interview the interview but not the testing section?
Yes,
Yeah?
that is a big issue we are having.
Okay.
I ask in the stipulation that we want to audio tape the entire uh, process, the history as well as the examination,
Yeah.
but they kind of come up with bogus excuses that, well, it is all somewhat copyright protected,
Mm-hmm.
and then there are a whole bunch of neuropsychs they add uh, some kind of a declaration stating that this will affect the confidentiality of tests
Mm-hmm.
and the integrity of tests. So they have all these bogus excuses.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anyone can really ace a test by knowing what the test is,
Yeah.
because test scoring is all weird in neuropsych.
Yeah.
Because, for example, there was a question in one of the tests: do you like mechanics magazines? If you say you don't like mechanics magazine, I don't know how the scoring is. One, you'll get a plus point. The other one, you get a minus point.
Yeah.
What what's the validity of that?
Yeah.
So those are the kind of tests our clients have to take to see if they have any impairment.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it is so preposterous.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's very interesting. Like, I know there's a stipulation, like in Canada, they always argue that, okay, you can get the raw data, but it's copyright, and the only people that can actually read the raw data is another psychologist or neuropsych. So they won't share it with our office, but they'll agree to send the raw data to our neuropsych to review. Have you ever seen that argument?
Well, that was always a case until we have a case called Randy's Trucking that
Okay.
came in California.
Yeah.
Randy's Trucking changed the law because there was, or there still is, a neuropsych. I think her name is Kyle Boone or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
She's the one that was involved in that case.
Yeah.
And the judge allowed the plaintiff's lawyers to have the raw data in that case.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, they say there was always a protective order that neither side can disseminate this information without a protective order.
Yeah, okay. Well, maybe you should give me that site. Maybe we should use that case in Alberta and see if it goes anywhere with the judge up here. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I'll email it to you.
Okay, please. Okay. Yeah.
Have you met Dorothy Sims?
Oh, yeah, I know of her. She's in Ocala, Florida. I've actually gone to her ranch. She's a very interesting person, and she's married to that physiatrist, her doctor, her
Right,
husband.
right. Oregon.
Oh, is she in Oregon now, or is she in Florida?
No, yeah, her husband's name is Oregon.
Yeah, yeah. Didn't they move to California now?
Yeah, they're in California. They're in LA, actually.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think she's a fantastic trial consultant.
Yeah.
Now she's doing more trial consulting,
Mm-hmm.
and she has got her T's and I's on this one, on the neuropsych.
Yeah.
If she could help cross-examine these experts, and she was really an aggressive cross-examiner of neuropsychs. I can send you the Randy's Trucking once I'm back.
Yeah, well, you got my email, so send it to me. But yeah, I've known Dorothy for almost 20 years, and actually I've been to, when she was living in Florida, I went to her ranch, and she did some consulting for us here in Alberta. It was helpful, but just we didn't have the option to cross-examine experts on the reports until recently when they changed the law here in Alberta. But I know she's got a very specific practice where you can hire her as a consultant. She'll come in,
Yes.
cross-examine the defense doctor on the report, and go through the raw data, and you have the option to do that before trial in the U.S.
Actually, Dorothy sat with me at an actual TBI trial I believe in 2020, right before the COVID started.
Yeah.
That was the last trial, live trial until it all reopened. I had.
Yeah, yeah. And then the other issue with neuropsychs is there's a stipulation that if you have a neuropsych today, you have to wait over a year to have another neuropsych, because there's an idea that you can remember the questions or something. Have you heard that theory or argument?
We have a rule of only a single defense exam under our code in California Code of Civil Procedure. You're only allowed to have one physical exam, and neuropsych is not as a matter of right.
Yeah.
Any mental testing, you have to either file a motion
Mm-hmm.
or you'll have to have a stipulation.
Okay.
Generally, if you have a TBI case, I know the judges automatically will grant that motion,
Mm-hmm.
but we also want to put conditions, and we would rather have a stipulation that lays out the conditions. And if it gets really contested, then we have a judge decide based on the restrictions that should be imposed.
Yeah. Okay. So, what's a typical restriction on a defense medical exam that judge in California or like in LA? What do you what county do you primarily practice in? Like,
Mostly Los Angeles County,
okay.
but I have practiced in almost every county in the state. When I was doing motorcycle cases, I've been to almost every county. I've tried cases in most of the counties, but now uh, I believe after 9/11, travel has become a menace unless you have
Mm-hmm.
a private jet, which I
Yeah.
don't have.
Yeah, or even after COVID, I mean, you can do like obviously we're via Zoom. You didn't have to fly up here to Canada. I mean, the world did change with COVID about making the world smaller, videography and Zoom meetings and team meetings and stuff like that.
Yes, I absolutely agree, and that's great.
Hmm.
It's, you can make court appearances by Zoom.
Yeah,
You can do depositions by Zoom.
yeah.
But believe it or not, I have a few lawyers out there, and they insist that they want to do in-person deposition of a client. Well, what's the reason? Oh, I want to look into the eyes of your
Oh
client and
yeah, I
answer
know.
the question. Come on.
Yeah, there's an argument here in Canada. Well, if you're on the Zoom and I'm in my office, I can't really read credibility, and I want to look directly in your eyes. It's almost like an intimidation because, I mean, I remember we call it questioning here in Alberta, but it used to be called examination for discovery. But it'd always be sort of like defense would show up, it'd be a scene like, well, where are we going to have the discovery? At Grover's office or defense counsel? We go back and forth on that argument. You know what I'm saying? Like, are we going to be the home team or are you going to be the away team? And then there's always the arrival and there's ruffling of papers. And, there's sort of like I always think that, if you want to become a advocate or a trial lawyer that does a lot of civil litigation, you should probably read The Art of War by Sun Tzu. I don't know if you ever read that book.
I've seen the book. I haven't read it yet.
Okay, I have a copy at home, so if you ever want, I can courier it down to you as long as you return it to me, okay?
I think it's probably easier for me to just get one.
On
Maybe I don't know. Maybe trial guides may have it.
Yeah, or just buy it on Amazon. It's probably like
Yeah.
$14, the soft cover.
I'll get it from Amazon. I might pay more for your
Yeah,
um,
fit it.
postage to Canada.
Exactly. But I mean, like, if all is there certain counties that you don't want to run a trial in California, or you've been there since '88?
Yes, absolutely. Um, One of them is Orange County.
Okay, like that's Irvine, California, Anaheim, Huntington Beach. Like everyone knows that because of Disneyland in Canada.
Yeah, so Orange County is Newport Beach, Santa Ana, Westminster, Fullerton, Laguna Niguel,
Yeah.
all the way up to San Clemente.
Hmm.
Orange County, the jury pack will have mostly corporate executives,
Hmm.
doctors, lawyers, highly compensated people.
Yeah.
So they may be good in certain cases. I'm not telling blanket,
Yeah.
but in cases that may not appeal to conservatives, you'll be out of luck,
Yeah.
and you'll either get a low verdict
Hmm.
or a defense verdict in those kind of jurisdictions. And defense drools to have a verdict in Orange County. But if you have a catastrophic case and case is worthy of value, I believe conservatives can be of help.
Yeah.
So I don't say a blanket,
Yeah.
but if we have a case that is uh, on the borderline, I
Hmm.
wouldn't try that. I wouldn't try in Orange County.
Well, what about a case like we've all had them, low speed impact, no damage to the vehicle, uh, not a lot of treatment, client has pre-existing and not very credible. Would you run that trial, or would you just try and settle it before going to jury?
Not in Orange County,
Not in Orange County. Okay.
no.
Yeah.
Uh, and the second issue I have with those kind of cases is to appeal to a jury. For example, if you have excuse me, if you have a trial and your theory is that there was an aggravation of pre-existing condition, you have to establish there's an aggravation and you don't have something that is substantially similar to what existed before at present. For example, let's say you have an MRI for a client,
Yeah.
and the MRI has a disc herniation. And the disc herniation shows the same in the post-incident MRI.
Mm-hmm.
But if it is all things equal, if it's all the same, the defense argument will be, oh, it's all the same. Now, let's say either there is an increased disc bulge, disc protrusion, or there is a disc protrusion,
Mm-hmm.
and, and, and let's say there was a nerve impingement after this incident, then you may be able to succeed on that aggravation.
Mm-hmm.
I think where the defense tries to confuse a jury is generally just relying on MRIs.
Yeah.
They will say, oh, there is no interval change. Interval change for the general public means there is no difference between what was there before
Mm-hmm.
and what is there now.
Yeah.
So cases can be won or lost unless you have a good doctor.
Yeah.
And the defense also will bring in some radiologists and will try to come up with different stories.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe in a trial, the most believable story wins.
Yeah.
And sometimes the made to believe story by a high priced expert can be very dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to defeat and debunk that type of an expert.
Yeah.
And that's where the skill of a lawyer comes. And if you're not really skilled at that, or if you don't articulate it very well, that's going to be a very tough one.
So one thing that I like to do is watch movies. And, I've got, a young daughter, and, we watch Paw Patrol. And do you, like, especially in California and even up here in Canada, would you agree to be like a lawyer and do personal injury? You have to have sort of like an imagination, think out the box, and like you said, tell a good story about your client that's believable, because everybody likes a good story. You obviously probably like a good book or a good movie, but would you agree with that should be sort of like the ongoing theme if you're a plaintiff lawyer?
I believe a good story is the centerpiece of any great case.
Yeah.
No, any great delivery. I'm sure, Steve, you've been to Mark Lanier's conference.
Yeah.
Mark Lanier I think he's the greatest storyteller.
Yeah.
And I consider him as a mentor. I have been going last 9 years for his Lanier Trial Academy.
Mm-hmm.
And the most important thing is he's inspiring.
Mm-hmm.
He's a great storyteller.
Yeah.
And that's how he was successful, and he even won that for some billion-dollar verdict in the Johnson & Johnson talc case.
Yeah.
So, of course, that's up there. He's up there. But for lawyers like us, I believe it doesn't matter. The better the story we have, the better the persuasion. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, I mean, and since 2010, we have to do mediation. It's mandatory in the province of Alberta before we get a trial date. Wouldn't you agree? Like, even in mediation, there's always an opening. Would you agree as a plaintiff lawyer, you should take that opportunity to tell the story about your client to the adjuster, because obviously the adjuster's never met your client until the mediation has begun. You know what I'm saying?
That is true.
Yeah.
It all depends on what kind of an adjuster or a defense lawyer. They have competing interests.
Yeah.
Adjuster sometimes wants to settle the case, and probably the lawyer there may be a impediment to that.
Yeah.
But I think a three-way with the adjuster and the lawyer would be good. For example, I had a commercial trucking case. My client was a young girl who was 18.
Yeah.
She was sitting disabled on a shoulder, and the semi with the trailer almost took the half of her car. She had a little rickety car, and it was like demolition 101 on the car.
Mm-hmm.
But she was lucky enough. She survived the crash. She had TBI.
Yeah.
So I had a great defense lawyer from Northern California.
Mm-hmm.
He was very human. And at the end of our deposition, he asked me, "What can I do for you?" I told him, "Tom, just pay the policy." And he agreed to pay the policy, which was a commercial policy.
Yeah.
And we didn't realize, later on, he realized there was another umbrella policy.
Oh.
And he called me and he said, we have another umbrella policy.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went to mediation. And the person that was the biggest hindrance was the umbrella's lawyer.
Oh, yeah.
He wanted to milk the policy. He wanted to do all kinds of extra work. He wanted to be an impediment. And I had a pretty decent mediator. We were able to settle the case
Mm-hmm.
about the first policy.
Mm-hmm.
But if it was the same lawyer in the original policy, he would have probably tendered the whole policy because he had a human element in him.
Mm-hmm.
He was compassionate. And it is compassion versus what's their bottom line is a different thing. You can be compassionate and he can be ethical,
Yeah.
and you can also be, fair.
Yes.
I think fairness, once it leaves the ground, then all this battle, and as plaintiffs' lawyers, the risk we take is, do we lose the case? I don't know if you're in Canada, do you have contingency fee?
Yeah, we work all on contingency. Otherwise, clients couldn't afford us. You know what I'm saying? And that's
Right,
fair.
right.
Yeah, because you're evening out the justice system against big corporations.
Right.
Yeah.
So I compare our job to like being the gamblers in Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, very interesting you mentioned that, because I like sports and I've got a sport collection, and we've got a signed jersey from Brett Favre. Remember him, the quarterback from
yes.
the Packers, and his nickname was the Gambler. So we have a signed framed jersey signed by him, and it says Brett Favre, the Gambler at Green Bay Packers. So you almost have to be, as a plaintiff lawyer, you almost have to be, sometimes you have to go all in for your client. And sometimes clients don't, they appreciate that, but sometimes they don't realize how much risk we really take for them. Does it make sense?
Well, that's a risk of contingency practice because
Yeah.
because although you may rise and fall together,
Yeah.
the fall is ultimately on the lawyer because the cost of doing the case ultimately falls onto you as a lawyer.
Yeah.
And these experts are very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Experts can run anywhere from thousands of dollars to hundreds of thousands of
Oh, yeah.
dollars. So
Yeah.
I kind of remember, was it Civil Action, John Travolta's movie?
Yeah, they had that big civil lawsuit in Massachusetts, and that the factory put the chemicals in the water, and they could have settled it, but he wanted pure justice, and I think he ended up going bankrupt. He's actually a real lawyer.
He had to mortgage his house or something like that.
Well, all his partners left and left him hanging, and I think it was a real doozy of a case. I mean, he did get some justice, but he went all in. But I think that lawyer, he's actually a lawyer in Boston, and that whole book, that movie's based on his book, and he did. I think he may have recouped his life, but he went all in, and he lost a lot of money on that case, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's the risk as lawyers we take,
Yes.
and we can take more than what we can chew.
Yeah, yeah. So, and then sometimes like there's Erin Brockovich. She hit a home run. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, that sure did.
Yeah. So you've been practicing since '88, and one thing that's coming up a lot now is artificial intelligence, AI. Okay.
Yes.
And as a senior lawyer that's been through it for almost over 30 years, what do you think of AI coming into the legal practice? Is it going to change it or make our jobs easier as lawyers and attorneys?
I think it has made our life much easier because we use heavily artificial intelligence in our practice.
Okay.
And for example, you have thousands of pages of medical records.
Yeah.
How is it humanly possible to review and read that, whereas you can upload that into AI and ask specific questions, and it will mark those pages and the records for you.
Yeah.
And I've seen in trials, the defense will just randomly pick up some record and start asking questions and misrepresent the facts. But you can just put the question to AI and have those questions marked,
Yeah.
those records marked. And that will allow you to have immediate access to materials that are either for impeachment or contradicting the defense expert. So I think lawyers without AI will stay behind.
So what? Just out of curiosity, we run a busy practice here in Calgary. What AI program are you using right now for your office?
We started using one called Supio, and we also use another one called Eve Legal.
Yeah, Eve. Yeah. What do you think of Eve? Because we're looking at that, changing over that program right now. Are you still using it?
Yes, that is working. Actually, Eve is working very well.
Okay.
I'm not telling there are other programs. There are probably other programs.
Yeah.
But none of these are inexpensive. So
Yeah.
if I have the choice of having all the AI programs, I'll probably have it. But
No. Well, at the end of the day, it's like I need a car to get to work and go to the baseball game or go to the restaurant, but I don't have 50 cars. You know what I'm saying? There's we just saw ourselves again in Austin, Texas, at the Trucking Academy annual symposium, and there's at least 50 vendors there, and there's other guys. There's so many AI programs. There's nurses that summarize medicals. There's guys that find defendants, but you're currently using Eve of all the programs out there, correct?
yeah, we started using Eve last couple of months.
Yeah.
Till then, it was Supio. One thing I always have concern about AI is when you choose an AI program, you have to make sure that they give you the most reliable response when you put in a question.
Yeah.
And with this AI program, for example, we put in discovery and it will ask questions. It will give you questions for depositions.
Yeah.
It'll summarize your medical records. It'll even give you a settlement analysis.
Yeah.
And the projection. Again, I know we cannot conclusively rely on that, but
No.
I'm sure it uses some of the data and algorithms to come up with that, but it gives you an idea. For example, when I put in Eve some of the case values, I feel that some cases I probably even underestimated the value.
Yes. Okay. So it's made you more money then, hey?
Well, I don't know. It's still a process. Ultimately, you want to be able to pay for all these programs, and the
Yeah.
cost of running the cases.
Yeah.
I think,
Well, it's interesting because everyone's talking about AI and all this stuff, but I don't know if you remember, Allstate brought out that colossal system. Do you remember that from the late 90s?
yeah, those are the primitive systems to
I know.
value cases.
But isn't that sort of like the pioneer of AI? Like, because I came out of law school and all of a sudden Allstate decided, okay, you know what we're going to do is we're going to take these chart notes and we're going to put it in colossals and it's going to spit out what your case is worth. And I thought that's kind of stupid because, every case is different. Every person reacts to pain differently. And, I think it pretty much fell on its face, didn't it? Pretty much colossals, that program.
Yeah, I think the old stock adjusters use that.
Yeah.
The thing is, Colossus, it was designed for a purpose, and it was for lowballing cases.
Oh, yeah, of
And
course.
the data point they have is based on certain statistics they had.
Yeah.
But the data point of AI is so far sophisticated, it's no match with some of those stuff they tried to do in the past.
Yeah, it was very
So,
interesting. Like I read an article of Colossals that if you had a client that did so much more of treatment than X amount, it actually devalue your case because there wasn't, it didn't favor chiropractor treatment. I don't know if you ever heard of that theory.
oh yes, oh
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. So it had its own
Chiropr-
biases too.
Chiropractors were shunned a
Yeah.
lot, but I believe the chiropractors rule in certain areas.
Hmm.
But I have no problem if a client goes to a chiropractor initially,
Yeah.
but if they go to a chiropractor for the whole year, I have a problem.
Hmm.
But I think some chiropractors are very detailed in taking the initial information and
Hmm.
analysis, and they can be really helpful too.
Yeah,
And
and so yeah, I mean, I've it's up to the client. Like some people like physio, some like massage, some like chiro. I mean, it's not like one treatment fits all people. You know what I'm saying?
I think the difference between physical therapy and chiropractors sometimes some of them are more invested in taking detailed history and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Physical therapy, they go as a referral.
Yeah.
So they will probably only look at the symptoms for the purpose of treatment,
Mm-hmm.
but chiropractors may be a little more global.
Yeah.
But ultimately, what matters is you need to have the right specialist for each of those issues.
Yeah.
If someone has headaches, and those headaches are neurological,
Yeah.
then
Neurologist maybe. Or I
you
don't.
need, yeah,
Yeah.
you need definitely you need a neurologist.
Yeah. Yeah.
If, and if it's a TBI, you might need a bunch of different experts.
Yeah.
I have neurologists. I have probably endocrinologists.
Mm-hmm.
uh, Sometimes an
Physiatries.
physiatrist, ENT doctor,
Yeah.
because
Ears, nose, and throat. Yeah.
some people have tinnitus
Mm-hmm.
and balance issues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So a lot of
So
those patients are important.
yeah, and obviously, like the one question I have for you on AI, do you think it's going to take jobs away in the legal market, like anywhere from an attorney's job or a legal assistant job or a paralegal job?
I don't think so.
No, and why
I,
is that?
I, because you still need human beings to operate things. You have to have personal touch because AI itself, you cannot 100% rely on AI to do your work.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We just
So
had a
this,
case in the Court of Appeal where the lawyer hired a third party and they used AI and it came up with hallucination cases. I don't know if you ever heard of that in California, in the U.S.
well, very much so.
Yeah,
We had judges sanction lawyers for getting cites that are inaccurate.
yeah,
Uh, and that can be, depends on the type of court. Some judges can be very upset about those,
yeah.
and some you may be able to get away with it, but overall consensus is you just don't use hallucination AI. And I believe um, EU may be very helpful in not having hallucination. Uh, There was another AI program I met, I believe, in Austin when we were at the conference. Uh, they also seemed very, very good. So
What was the
it's
name of
so
the
hard to make.
What was the name of the program?
I believe it was Anytime AI
Oh
or
yeah,
something like
yeah.
that.
I talked to those guys because the one of the sales rep was from Toronto. Yeah, and then I think we met with them, but we weren't sure. But I mean, I've talked to you now. I've talked to another well-respected lawyer in North Carolina. A lot of guys are using AI, and they're using the Eve program. So I think that's something that we're seriously going to look at going forward to change our program over to.
I would say it's worth giving a try.
Yeah, why not? You know, everything you can try everything in life. My dad always said, "Try everything in life, and you die with no regrets." Hey, what do you think of that theory?
Well, I think that is well stated.
so, so I know you're in Pasadena. So, what's the weather like now in Southern California?
Well, today probably 90s,
Okay, is it sunny?
very sunny.
No
That's why I had to
snow?
keep no snow. That's why I had to keep my blinds down.
Okay.
But
And obviously, you're in Pasadena. Are you a Dodgers fan at all? Obviously, because the World Series is going on right now.
I'm not too much of a fan of football, but
Or baseball? Yeah.
no, neither. I like soccer and basketball.
Okay, so are you excited about FIFA, the World Cup coming to North America next year in 2026?
Yeah,
Are
that'll be
you gonna?
interesting.
Yeah, yeah. I guess it's Canada, U.S., and Mexico. They're going to share all the games, and then I think the
Yeah.
finals in New York at Giant Stadium in New Jersey. And I've looked online, and some of those tickets are $1 million for the final game. I don't know if you've seen that on StubHub or Ticketmaster.
Well, I guess you can watch it for free on the TV, right?
Yeah, I mean, I used to go to a lot of games, and then all of a sudden, you go to the game, and you got to fight everyone to go through, and you got to go through like the metal detectors, and you have to have a. If you take a bag, it's got to be a clear bag. They can see everything, and then some stadiums you pay an arm and a leg for like a soda pop or a beer and some popcorn and a hot dog, and then you got to fight everyone to you get your chair, and then you got to fight everyone to go to the washroom. Sometimes it's just easier to watch a good game on a big screen TV at home, enjoy your own popcorn, and just chill out on your own couch. What do you think of
Well, I think that's the coolest thing to do. And
that?
I I'm not sure if you're aware of some of the assaults that happen in these stadiums.
Oh yeah,
I believe I
yeah,
believe it was in the Stadium.
yeah,
There was a huge fight,
yeah.
and one of the guys, I believe, he got serious brain injury from an assault.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah. Some of those
so I
people
try.
you'd stay away from games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that makes me less incentivized to go to all these huge gatherings.
Oh yeah, well, like I've heard the stories of the Dodgers playing the San Francisco Giants. They've got a big rivalry, fights going on. Obviously, there's the Raiders, and they don't like any of their fan. The other team's fan coming to their stadium. So some people take their sports too seriously. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Absolutely. I think it is to have fun when you do that. And
Yeah.
once you start taking it too serious and go to the extreme, that's when people get hurt.
Yeah, it was very interesting. I used to take I'm a Flames fan, Calgary Flames NHL. We haven't won the cup since '89. Since I think you're a first year lawyer. I used to take the Flames seriously and get upset. And then my buddy looked at me. He's a GP and says, Steve, he's a family doctor. Say what? Like you can't change anything, dude. You're not on the ice. You can't play. If they screw up the game, it's not your problem. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, you take the perspective. It's entertainment. It's like going to a movie. If they win, great. If they lose, you can't really do anything, could you?
Well, you go there to enjoy the moment.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But if you have a good case and you don't work on the case for your client, it could affect the outcome. You're accountable for your actions as an attorney or as a doctor. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Absolutely, because every case is important.
Yeah,
Every client is important,
yeah,
and always I feel in my inner self the philosophy of, are you going to make a change in someone's life with this
hmm
case?
yeah,
And I have a few cases where I have made change in the lives of people.
yeah,
Uh, But to make that change, I have cases in which I was sad at the end,
Mm-hmm.
either either because the jury didn't buy the case,
Mm-hmm.
or because I have a catastrophic case where my client was hit by an illegal alien with a minimum policy, and my client has an amputation. So
Mm-hmm.
those are sad outcomes. I mean, I always look for a happy outcome for a client because
Yeah.
that's the one that is going to make change in their lives.
Yeah. So now that you talked about that one case with limits, what's the limits issue in California? Like if I buy a car in LA County and it's a Mazda or Nissan, what's the minimum third party? Do you need auto insurance in California? Is that the law?
Absolutely.
Okay. And then if I
Um,
go to my broker, I go to like an insurance company, I say, you know what, I just want the minimum requirement for third party coverage liability. What's the minimum I can buy in California?
it used to be 1530 policy, but now it is 30,000, 60,000. I tell my clients that if you're insured below 100,000, you're grossly underinsured.
Yeah.
And at least if we can afford to buy a 250, 500 with an uninsured motorist policy,
Okay.
because if you're hit by a deadbeat
Yeah.
and you have some serious injuries, you can at least resort to your own insurance, to collect the underinsured or uninsured motorist policy.
So what does 3060 mean? What does that mean to Canadian viewers?
Well, 30,000 per person and 60,000 per incident. For
Okay.
example, yeah, I'm sure your Canadian insurance also will apply in the United
Oh
States
yeah.
if you travel.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so it is important that at least in Canada you have a good insurance, and if you're buying an insurance in the United States as an excess coverage, it's always good because if you're driving,
Mm-hmm.
uh, you can, because these roads are very often traveled,
Oh yeah.
and there are very dangerous incidents that happen. The other day, not very far from up here, like about maybe 50 miles from where I am,
Yeah.
there was a semi truck that just rammed into a number of cars and killed a bunch of people. And a semi truck has a mandatory minimum of 750,000.
Yeah.
Most of them carry $1 million.
Yeah.
And I've done cases in which, although my case wasn't worth that kind of money, but they had $1 billion in insurance, some
Yeah.
semi truck companies. But average mom and pop semi truck drive companies, they have a $750,000 policy.
Okay. So say example, I go get 3060 in LA and I cause an accident, I hit you. And what's my policy going to pay out on you? Say you're catastrophically injured, and I don't have any assets. What's the minimum they'll pay out on you? What's the maximum they can pay out on you? 30,000.
$30,000.
That's it.
$30,000.
Okay.
That's it.
Wow. Okay. So and then you're talking about underinsured coverage. Is that mandatory in California for you to buy it?
No.
Really? Okay. And why is
No.
that?
Well, the mandatory rules are only regarding liability, third-party liability policies.
Yeah.
So I try to say, I tell my clients, at the end of your case, I become an insurance salesman, although I fight insurance companies,
Yeah.
because your own protection, you need to carry full coverage, comprehensive collision and underinsured and uninsured motorists.
So, out of curiosity, has anyone ever done the statistics in the state of California? How many people drive a vehicle in California with no insurance?
I am pretty sure there is much out there. I haven't really
Okay. What about,
done a deep dive.
and how many people out there would drive around in California without getting uninsured coverage? Because they say, I can't really afford it. It's not going to happen to me. You know, everyone says it's never going to happen to me. You know what I'm saying?
Well, there are two reasons.
Yeah.
One may be that, and secondly, a lot of folks are not educated about what insurance does.
Yeah.
I had a case in which I had a client that came. Uh, he just came to my office, and I was representing him in another case, and he came in a Tesla,
Mm-hmm.
and he had coverage for the previous accident, but he just got a new Tesla.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked him, did you get coverage? And he told me, well, I got the coverage that was given to me by the dealership,
Yeah.
Tesla.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked him, what is that coverage? That coverage only covers you for the property damage. And you need to make sure that you have liability, uninsured motorists, full coverage. And he was able to sit there and get the Tesla insurance right sitting in my office. I told him, you're not driving out of here. You either leave your car up here,
Mm-hmm. Take the
in
bus
the
home.
parking,
Take the bus home.
and take the bus home, or you buy the insurance. Then I'll let you leave my office. I'll just leave you hostage because of that.
Okay. But you think it's as much as 50% or more people in California that don't have underinsured coverage?
I think as far as my clients are concerned, I already had them as clients.
Yeah.
I educate
But the
them
general
about the
population
necessity.
out there, I mean, it's a big state. You're going all the way from Fresno to San Diego to Bakersfield.
Um,
Or is it hard to say?
it is hard to say.
Yeah.
I haven't run a statistics on that,
Okay.
but I am sure there is a high percentage of people that are either driving without full coverage, because the insurance companies don't really educate people about it.
And then
Because
also
it may
people. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
People may have to pay just another $10 or $15 more to get that better coverage.
Yeah. Okay. So we talked about minimum limits. Now, the one thing that I always hear, because I hear from Canadians, in America they have these big juries. You're gonna, get a car accident in California, you get $5 to $10 million. I mean, I know there's a big settlement. There's some settlements that have gone on recently last year of 50 million US, but those are usually against big corporate defendants. Wouldn't you agree with that? Like, is it just sort of a myth about these big cases in America?
Well, all that glitters is not gold.
Yeah.
Because cases are all case specific results,
Yeah.
fact specific.
Yeah.
If someone has an amputation, someone has a brain injury, those kind of verdicts will come. Also, like some of the great lawyers always said, and I'm sure that you listen to some of the same people we've been in conferences.
Yeah.
There is a punitive aspect of general damages. For example, the conduct of the defendant, if it's let's say a commercial truck driver, or conduct of someone that is driving reckless, that normally pisses off the jury because for the right reasons. And that's where a lot of these big verdicts come.
Okay, and that's called punitive damages. Wouldn't you that's to punish the defendant for bad conduct?
Well, it is not really punitive damages because
How would you
we call it the punitive aspect of general damages because the conduct without you cannot talk about punitive damages unless you have a punitive damages claim that the court will allow you to pursue. But if you have an abhorrent conduct, a conduct that is so despicable, and or conduct that is so reckless, or grossly negligent, and if you can bring in all those conduct, then you will be able to get more damages.
Yeah.
But in California especially, and I think there is a case, I think it's called McAfee. It may be a federal case in the United States, but in California they call it a Diaz case.
Okay.
For example, if you ask for punitive damages against in a negligence case, and also, I'm sorry, it is not the punitive damage, it's the vicarious liability. For example, the defendant's conduct, if they admit vicarious liability, means the employer admits vicarious liability, you cannot bring in the bad conduct or the negligent entrustment or negligence of the employer.
Yeah.
So that becomes a big problem because you have an employer that is violating all the rules and you just can't talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
So the exception to that is if we can prove gross negligence.
Mm-hmm.
So, so you need to have all those. For example, in a trucking case, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regs,
Mm-hmm.
they have clear-cut rules about driver qualification or safety rating.
Yeah.
So, so if we can bring in a number of items of the bad conduct of the employer and you allege gross negligence, then you can go for punitive damages, and you have to allege punitive damages to bring in uh, the vicarious liability of the employer and the bad conduct of the employer.
Yeah.
But if you don't have enough facts to support a punitive damages claim and that allegation in the complaint,
Yeah.
then you're out of luck and they will get away with whatever they did,
Mm-hmm.
and the jury won't know about it.
So, so say you're mediation and you're arguing bad conduct of the employer. Will the insurance company, the defendant's insurance company in the U.S. pay out punitives, or you have to get a judgment? You have to get a jury to award the punitive aspect to general damages.
Well, neither of those come. We can prove gross negligence,
Yeah.
those kind of cases. Or for example, if the driver had a bad series of conduct and he was still kept by the company. Let's
Yeah.
say he was driving drunk or he was watching porn
Mm-hmm.
while driving. All these kind of things happen,
Yeah.
and they did allow him to continue to work and do things like that. Uh, I don't think any judge will be happy about it, and they will give the punitive instructions,
Yeah.
and that'll give you a leverage to maximize the value. Uh, there are some great trucking lawyers, Michael Leiserman,
Oh
those
yeah, he's
guys. Yeah,
in Toledo, Ohio. The Zen
right.
lawyer. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Michael, Joe Fried, these
Oh
guys
yeah.
are really, they are, they're on top of their game in these trucking cases.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and in California, I have had cases. I had a case, um, one of the mill guys declined the case,
Mm-hmm.
and mm, my client was a truck driver, but he was walking with a dolly behind another truck that was reversing.
Yeah.
And they were blaming my client, he was officially a truck driver, but he was making a delivery.
Mm-hmm.
And they declined the case. And this guy had spine injuries, and he was a nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
He he had a lot of limitations after that. And a case in which there was zero and declined by these folks, they just dropped the case because the police report said my client was at fault.
Mm.
So I took the deposition of the police officer and I asked the police officer, officer, do you enforce trucking rules? He said, no.
Yeah.
And have you been trained to enforce commercial driver's manual? No. Have you been trained under any of the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations?
Mm-hmm.
No. And is it because your department doesn't have that resources to do that? He agreed. And he was a nice officer, but he didn't have the training.
Okay.
And so he just looked at the whole situation between two guys and he thought, okay. And my client actually had to roll under this moving truck.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, the guy's tires would have crushed him
Okay.
and killed him.
Oh.
And I got him almost a 7-figure settlement in that case.
Well, that's good. So obviously, you can leverage bad conduct at mediation to get more money out of the defense insurance company. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay.
And also, you need to deliver the package during litigation.
Yeah.
In discovery.
Yeah.
And one of the things they waste a lot of time. I don't know how it's in Canada, but they will just keep on sending objections to discovery. Then you have to go through a whole rigmarole of getting an IDC or informal discovery conference with a judge. Then you have to file a motion.
Yeah.
And by this time, so much time passes, and it's all a game.
Yeah.
And the legal game played by the defense, they get, they make millions of dollars adding up their hours, whereas we're spending all our hours,
Yeah.
which we don't get paid for anything unless
Yeah.
there is a result.
Yeah, but I mean, you're carrying the torch of, representing people that couldn't represent themselves, couldn't afford a lawyer, doing a contingency, and obviously sounds you're doing very good job in California, and for your very extensive legal experience. And you know what, I want to thank you. I think we've gone over the hour, but you're a very interesting person to talk to. And obviously, we're going to have to probably get you back on the podcast sometime in the next year or, year down the road. But in closing, I want to just thank you. And, Pius, I've known you for many years, and you're always very interesting to talk to. And any plans for tomorrow night for Halloween? Are you going trick-or-treating?
Well, I don't have, when my daughter was young, I would do that, but I think I'll take a pass on it.
All right. You're not going to go out tonight dressed up to get some free candy from your next-door neighbors?
I guess I might just watch a movie.
All right. Well, maybe you can watch Halloween or Friday the 13th or something. Or even, actually, you can, if you got Netflix, I recommend watch a series called Phantom Pups. I've been doing that. I've watched that 3 times already with my daughter.
Well, at least you have a young daughter, and that's just cherish that time, because those times just passes. But Steve, it was great having a conversation with you, and I appreciate you inviting me for this.
Yeah. All right. Well, enjoy sunny California while we're up here in the Great White North, and maybe you'll watch Game 6 and 7 in the World Series. It's obviously the Dodgers against Toronto Blue Jays, and we'll see who wins the series. Okay.
Sounds good, and I'll give you a holler if I'm in Calgary, Canada.
All right, and I'll probably see you next year at a conference. We always cross our paths somewhere in the U.S. Okay?
Absolutely. Take
All right.
care.
Well, thank you. Have a great, happy Halloween. Take care, Pius.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.
And everyone out there, thank you again for tuning in for the Bulldog Brewhouse Podcast, and hopefully you learned something about California and being a lawyer down in the great state of California. And in the meantime, happy Halloween, and enjoy those candies and chocolate bars the next day or so. Take care. Bye-bye.